today requires new approaches that are environmentally responsible, technologically forward-looking, and socially inclusive. It requires both domestic resolve and partnerships that are constructive, respectful, and strategically aligned. China has been an important partner to Africa in this journey. Over the past decades, cooperation under the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation and other bilateral and multilateral platforms has supported infrastructure development, manufacturing capacity, energy access, vocational training, and technological advancement across the continent. As we look forward the next chapter, our discussion today will help us reflect on how we deepen this cooperation by emphasizing green development, strengthening institutional coordination, and ensuring that investments and projects generate locally embedded value. Today's seminar provides us with a platform to examine 4 critical areas of collaboration: development planning and strategy alignment, transitions to new and renewable energy, strengthening labor-intensive and value-adding industries, and advancing digital economy capabilities. These areas are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. Together, they represent pathways through which Africa can accelerate growth, reduce economic vulnerabilities, empower its youth, and drive sustainable prosperity. I wish us all a productive and inspiring exchange. Since we have online participants of this meeting, I want you to take note of that. But first, to start our deliberations today, let me now invite His Excellency Ambassador Jiang Feng, Head of Mission of China to the AU and representative of China to the UN ECA. You have the floor, Ambassador.
Your Excellency, Ms. Loretta Dorothy Mata-Borg, AUC Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy. Honorable Dr. Simenu Keskes, Representative to the Minister of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia. Your Excellency, Ambassadors, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, the mission of China to the African Union and the Center for Dialogue, Research and Cooperation jointly hold the seminar on supporting Africa's industrialization, promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development. On behalf of the mission of China to the AU, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Industrialization is the inevitable path to economic development. Accelerating industrialization is a key path for Africa to transform its endowments into endogenous driving force for development and achieve economic diversification and inclusive and sustainable development. We are pleased to see that under the guidance of the AU's Agenda 2063 and the Action Plan for Accelerated Industrial Development of Africa, AIDA, this continent has already taken firm steps towards industrialization. At the continental level, the construction of AfCFTA has started, providing a key market foundation for Africa's industrialization. At the national level, many countries have formulated and implemented industrialization strategies, such as the Growth and Transformation Plan of Ethiopia, the National Transformation Strategy of Rwanda, and the Vision 2030 of Zambia. Some mature industrial zones have been established in South Africa, Morocco, Egypt, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, as well as some other countries, greatly promoted the development of industries such as automobiles, aviation, petrochemicals, cement, and clothing. The new round of industrial revolution has created possibilities for Africa to leapfrog development in emerging fields. For instance, Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, has transformed from the Savannah capital to the Silicon Valley of Africa, where large numbers of digital startups have been born. Ladies and gentlemen, China has always been a staunch supporter for Africa's industrialization. Over the past decade, China-Africa Belt and Road Cooperation has become a significant platform for promoting Africa's industrialization. Firstly, the policy coordination has imported top-level resources into Africa's industrialization. China has signed MOU on the Belt and Road Cooperation with the AU and 52 African countries, and also has signed bilateral agreements on the investment promotion and protection with 34 African countries. 17 African countries have joined the Belt and Road Initiative Tax Administration Cooperation Mechanism. Secondly, the infrastructure connectivity has paved the way for Africa's industrialization. Chinese engineering contractors have participated in constructing numerous infrastructure projects, such as the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway in Kenya, the Lekki Deep Sea Port in Nigeria, the Lower Kafue Gorge Hydropower Station in Zambia, and the Electronic Government Network project in Uganda. These projects have effectively overcome the bottleneck of infrastructure shortcomings and created conditions for industrial clustering. Thirdly, the unimpeded trade has injected market vitality to Africa's industrialization. China has granted duty-free treatment to 100% of the tariff lines of products to 53 African countries with which it has diplomatic ties. Currently, China is negotiating the implementation documents with the relevant African countries to open up a broader market for African industrial development. China encouraged its enterprises to actively invest in Africa in areas of equipment manufacturing, light industry, chemicals, and digital technology, etc. Chinese enterprises have participated in constructing and operating more than 50 industrial parks of various types in Africa. Fourthly, the financial integration has provided crucial support for Africa's industrialization. China has become Africa's largest development financing provider. Against the backdrop of higher US dollar borrowing costs, China has actively encouraged and supported African countries and agencies to issue panda pounds, assisting Africa to reduce the overall financing costs. For all the least developed African countries with diplomatic ties with China, China has waived their intergovernmental interest-free loans due by the end of 2024. Fifthly, people-to-people bonds have fostered endogenous momentum for Africa's industrialization. Over the years, China and Africa have jointly implemented a vocational education cooperation project called Future of Africa. Co-established Luban workshops and centers for Chinese language and professional skills, and jointly conducted Chinese language plus vocational skills projects. These efforts have helped African train over 300,000 practical professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, industrialization is African people's dream and legitimate right. It has definitely ignored Africa's real needs and unique realities by imposing values and development models on Africa. Recently, some major powers competed for global industrial resources by abuse of unilateralism and bullying, which has caused severe negative impacts on African economy. As a key member of Global South, China advocates that Global South should draw their development blueprints independently. Since 2013, China has launched the Belt and Road Initiative, the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, the Global Civilization Initiative, and the Global Governance Initiative, jointly safeguarding the development rights with Global South, including Africa. Global modernization should be characterized by peaceful development, mutual beneficial cooperation, and a common prosperity. In 2024, at the FOCAC Beijing Summit, Chinese President, His Excellency Xi Jinping, proposed that China and Africa should jointly advance modernization that is just and equitable, and Africa should jointly and is just and equitable, open and win-win, putting the people first, featuring diversity and inclusiveness, eco-friendly and underpinned by peace and security. He also announced China will work with Africa to take 10 partnership actions for modernization. Looking ahead, China is willing to work with the African Union and the African countries to better implement the initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization and Beijing Summit, and support Africa in achieving green, coordinated, and sustainable industrialization. Firstly, focusing on strategic alignment. Through the Belt and Road Cooperation, China will support African countries in formulating industrialization plans and policies in line with their realities and national development strategies. Secondly, promoting direct investment in Africa. China will support Africa in developing manufacturing industries, digital economy, and new energy, creating more made in Africa local brands. Thirdly, enhancing industrial chain cooperation. China will encourage Chinese and African enterprises to build a community of common interests, coordinate on industrial and supply chains. Fourthly, encouraging the localization of Chinese enterprises. China will guide its enterprises to strengthen training for local employees, promoting the knowledge sharing and technology transfer between China and Africa. Fifthly, assist Africa in inclusive development. China will support Africa in cultivating talent for industrialization, especially for youth and women, and encourage entrepreneurship among youth and women. Ladies and gentlemen, the keynote speakers today come from relevant Chinese governmental agencies, the African Union, the UN entities, prominent Chinese and African think tanks, and business circles. The speeches will cover key areas closely related to Africa's industrialization, including China-Africa cooperation in development strategies, new energy, labor-intense industries, and digital economy. I'm looking forward to witnessing your insights and wisdom sharing, contributing to deepening China-Africa industrial cooperation and boosting Africa's industrialization. I strongly believe that through the joint efforts made by China and Africa, Africa's industrialization dream will come true, and China-Africa cooperation could yield even more fruits. I wish this seminar a great success. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency Ambassador Jiang Feng, Head of Mission of China to the AU and representative of China to the UN ECA. Let me now invite Her Excellency Ms. Lerato Dorothy, the AU Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Program Director. Your Excellency, Ambassador Jiang Feng, Honorable Dr. Semenu Keskes, representative of the Minister of Innovation and Technology of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, esteemed ambassadors, distinguished guests, colleagues, brothers and sisters here present, good morning. Salam. It is an honor to address this seminar focusing specifically on China's support to Africa's industrialization. The emphasis on promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development is relevant. And thank you, Ambassador, for outlining the vision. There's great alignment, and we will continue our conversation to bring them to life. We meet at a moment of great promise. Africa is rising. Our continent stands ready to harness its abundant resources, youthful energy, and deep ingenuity to shape a new era of growth. This transformation will be green, it will be coordinated, and it will be sustainable. It will be rooted in our own realities as Africa, guided by the vision of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. The second 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063 calls us to action. It calls us to build resilient economies that serve our people and that safeguard our planet. Excellencies, industrialization is not merely about factories and machines. It is about dignity, it is about self-reliance, it is about prosperity. That is our collective focus. Industrialization, however, without capacity building is like planting without preparing the soil. Skills, institutions, and human capital are foundations upon which we build. We must invest in our youth, our women, and our girls. This is a necessity. When they rise, Africa rises. We acknowledge and appreciate the People's Republic of China's steadfast partnership through training, scholarships, infrastructure, and knowledge exchanges. These contributions have strengthened our institutions and have indeed empowered our people, and we thank you. We now call for deeper collaboration aligned with Africa's green, digital, and industrial priorities. This seminar, therefore, comes at the right time. It focuses on 4 areas of our industrial transformation, particularly strengthening industrial strategies, advancing new energy and green technologies, building resilient and local manufacturing systems, and nurturing digital industries and innovation ecosystems. Excellencies, our path forward is clear. We must collaborate to scale locally led capacity building programs that are aligned with Agenda 2063. We must collaborate to establish regional centers of excellence for green technologies and advanced manufacturing. We must launch apprenticeship schemes linking youth and women to industrial firms. We must expand scholarships and technical exchanges focusing on vocational and digital skills. We must promote public-private partnerships with embedded training and technology transfer. We must support digital infrastructure and literacy, our bridge to the future. The African Union stands ready to work with the People's Republic of China to bring all these priorities to life. Together, we will ensure that every initiative aligns with Agenda 2063 and our FOCAC agenda, advancing an inclusive, transformed, and a sustainable Africa. Partnerships that are anchored on funding, blended finance, technology, and skills are the engines to get this agenda to life. Let this seminar therefore yield tangible outcomes in advancing the type of training pipelines, centers of excellence, apprenticeships, investments, and frameworks that we require to succeed. We thank Your Excellency Ambassador Zhang Feng and our Chinese partners for their enduring friendship and commitment to Africa's transformation through industrialization. May our deliberations today sow seeds of prosperity that will bloom across the continent. I thank you.
I thank Her Excellency, Ms. Lerato Dorothy, the EU Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, for her excellent speech. Let me now invite Dr. Semenyao Kaskis, Minister's Assistant of the Ministry of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia. You have the floor, sir.
Good morning again. Thank you, Excellency Ambassador and Ms. Dorothy, for the wonderful opening remarks. I will be addressing my speech on behalf of my Minister, His Excellency Dr. Belleta Molla, the Minister of Innovation and Technology of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Your Excellency, Ambassador Zhang Feng, Head of Mission of China to the African Union, Your Excellency, Ms. Lerato Dorothy, the African Union Commissioner for Industrialization, Infrastructure and Energy, honorable government officials from the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, representatives of the Mission of Peoples of Republic of China to the African Union, dear colleagues from the African Union, UN entities, respected heads of think tank business circles, ladies and gentlemen. It is therefore a singular privilege for the Minister of Innovation and Technology of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia to join the mission of China to the AU and Center for Dialogue, Research and Cooperation in convening this timely and important seminar, supporting Africa's industrialization, promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development. On behalf of my Minister, Dr. Belleta Molla, and the government and people of Ethiopia, I extend our deep appreciation to the People's Republic of China for championing this critical agenda. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today on the solid foundation laid by the China-Africa Leaders Dialogue, successfully convened during the 15th BRICS summit in 2023. At that juncture, the announcement by President Xi Jinping of the initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization marked a new beginning, and there was a strategic partnership towards greater African integration and modernization. For Africa, and particularly for Ethiopia, industrial development is not just an economic priority, but it is a core basis of our national aspirations of prosperity and self-sufficiency. Industrial transformation lies at the heart of our development strategies. For us, sustainable industrialization is the only sure route to creating high-value jobs, driving innovations, structurally propelling our economy toward this high-income status. This Chinese initiative is thus fully in line with our national imperative, and we see it as an important catalyst towards implementing the African Union Agenda 2063. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia has been beneficiary of this spirit cooperation that this partnership epitomizes, and equally we must take time to sincerely thank the many Chinese companies have been boldly invested in Ethiopia. These companies, in establishing factories, have actively contributed to the fabrics of our industrial journey, bringing in much needed capital, technologies, and expertise, creating significant employment opportunities, and helping us build modern industrial parks that act as the engines of our economy. This commitment from the Chinese companies demonstrates true dedications to our shared goals of industrial success. While we celebrate the progress made, we are also clear-eyed about the road ahead. To achieve the green, coordinated, and sustainable development this seminar seeks, we must continuously nurture the environment in which enterprises can thrive. In this regard, we welcome more and more Chinese companies to come and explore more investment opportunities in Ethiopia. The commitment of the government towards this vision remains very strong. We are committed to further optimization of our policies, improvement of business environment, and ensuring predictable regulatory frameworks, efficiency, and simplification of processes. We will do everything possible to create an environment in which enterprises, be it local and foreign, can thrive in contribution to high-quality development as stated in our national strategy. We invite you to be partners in this next phase of transformation. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that such a broad and high-ranking gathering of government officials, the AU, UN entities, and though leaders have been brought together, testifies to the high potential political commitment from both sides. Let us work diligently as we proceed with the discussion, translating this vision into specific projects that can be acted upon, bringing benefits to the ordinary workers and citizens of Ethiopia in particular, and Africa at large. Finally, please allow me to conclude my opening remark with congratulations of the successful convening of this very important seminar. We look forward to robust dialogue and concrete outcomes that will ensure our collaboration. I thank you for your attention.
I thank Dr. Simeno, Minister's Assistant of the Minister of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia, for his statement. Now we have the first session. The first session will have three speakers. Mr. Li Jun, the Director General for Industry, Policy and Regulations, and the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of China, who flew from Beijing for our session here. We have our second speaker would be Dr. Kwabena Ayerebi, Director of Banking Operations, the African Export-Import Bank. And the third speaker will be Dr. Yuan Shenglong, Division Director of the Institute of International Economic Research, National Development and Reform Commission of China. Since we don't have a coffee break, you can enjoy cookies and some water around at the back if you need one. So let me first invite Mr. Li Lijun, the Director General of Industry Policy and Regulations. You have the floor, sir.
部长助理西门柳博士，尊敬的各位大使、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家上午好！非常高兴有机会与大家相聚在埃塞俄比亚首都亚的斯亚贝巴，共商中非发展战略及规划合作大计。首先，诚挚感谢非洲对话研究合作中心和我驻非盟使团的热情邀请和周到安排。我谨代表中国工业和信息化部产业政策与法规司对本次研讨会的召开表示热烈祝贺，向长期以来为推动中非工业和信息化合作事业付出不懈努力的各界人士致以诚挚敬意。非洲正在成为具有全球影响力的重要一极。非盟2063年议程稳步推进，非洲国家在独立自主、联合自强和一体化发展、一体化建设的道路上阔步前行。长期以来，中国和非洲坚持同舟共济，坚持互利共赢。金砖国家的领导人第15次会晤期间举办的中非领导人对话会、中非合作论坛、北京峰会等重大活动，持续夯实了中非合作的基础。前不久，工信部李洛成部长专门来埃塞俄比亚访问，推动中非工业和信息化领域合作交流不断深化。今天我非常珍惜本次研讨会这样的宝贵机会，也期待能够进一步在工业和信息化领域、产业政策、战略规划等方面加剧与非盟伙伴共续友谊、共商合作。工业化是现代化的前提和基础，是实现人民对美好生活向往的坚实支柱，是一个国家和民族繁荣富强的必由之路。中国高度重视工业化，新中国成立以来，始终坚持把实现工业化作为不懈奋斗的目标，自力更生、奋发图强，成功探索出一条符合中国国情的工业化道路。2023年，中国全国工业和信息化推进大会召开，习近平主席就推进新型工业化作出重要指示，指出新时代新征程，以中国式现代化全面推进强国建设、民族复兴伟业，实现新型工业化是关键任务。近年来，中国扎实推进新型工业化，取得了新的重大成就，工业经济保持平稳增长，产业科技创新能力持续增强，产业结构进一步优化升级，产业链、供应链韧性进一步增强，产业体系更加完备，智能化、绿色化步伐加快，为中国国民经济平稳增长提供了有力支撑，也为世界经济发展做出了重要贡献。与此同时，通过广泛实践，中国在推进新型工业化方面也积累了丰富的、可迁移的经验做法。女士们、先生们、朋友们，中国正坚定不移以新型工业化支撑中国式现代化，非洲也正朝着 非盟2065年议程描绘的现代化目标加速迈进。2023年8月，中非领导人对话会发表支持非洲工业化议程倡议，中非工业和信息化合作迈向更高水平、更深层次、更宽领域迈进。近年来，中国工业和信息化部积极落实中非合作有关倡议和行动呼吁，一是持续深化中非战略规划和产业合作交流，已与14个非洲国家主管部门签署合作备忘录；二是落实对非洲制造业的税收优惠和投资。去年北京峰会以来，中国新增对非投资超过1330亿元人民币，其中多数涉及到工业和信息化的重点领域。三是支持有实力的中资企业出海，参与非洲基础设施、信息通信、数字经济、智慧农业等众多领域建设。时至今日，中非双方合作建设的各类产业园区已超过25家。四是推动新兴领域合作，中国品牌的新能源汽车受到当地越来越多消费者的认可。截至今年初，中非合作建设的光伏电站装机容量累计超过1.5 吉瓦，助力非洲国家加速推进能源转型。中国和非洲是实现现代化的同路人、好伙伴。中非合作拥有坚实基础、广阔空间和巨大潜能，正焕发出勃勃生机和旺盛活力。最近，中国共产党第20届4次全会召开，审议通过了中国国民经济和社会发展第15个5年规划，对中国未来5年经济社会发展做出了系统谋划和战略部署。面向未来，我们院积极落实李乐成部长前不久在埃塞俄比亚访问交流期间的合作建议，持续深化中非在工业和信息化领域战略规划和产业发展交流，携手推进支持非洲工业化倡议。在此，我提4个方面的建议：一是深化战略和政策的对接合作，中国应中长期规划指导经济社会发展，引导资源要素跨周期合理有效配置，编制中长期发展战略、5年规划、年度计划，合理确定长中短期目标任务，相互衔接，有序实施，一刀难投飞到底。我们要推动中国新型工业化战略与非洲加速非洲工业化发展倡议对接，支持非洲国家制定符合本国实际的工业化发展战略与政策，加强中非政府部门间交流对话，推动中非工业和信息化领域现有合作机制协同增效，促进中非工业和信息化领域产品、服务、技术等方面的标准对接。二是推动产业链、供应链协同合作。中国和非洲经济呈现出高度互补性，我们也持续支持非洲培育内生发展动力，将资源和潜力转化为生产力，积极推动中非贸易从初级产品交换向高附加值产业链协同升级。我们将支持非洲本土园区和中国高新技术产业开发区等联动发展，依托产业园区建设，帮助非洲构建更多本土完整产业链。三是探索强化新兴领域创新合作，我们要支持中资企业在新能源汽车、锂电池、可再生能源等领域加强对非合作，助力非洲国家打造本土品牌，加快非洲产业升级，支持非洲加快发展数字经济，鼓励中非双方企业共同建设可负担、可持续的数字基础设施。我们将联合非洲共建中非数字技术合作中心，打造中非数字领域开放合作平台。四是促进产学研各层次交流合作，我们愿研究与非方开展中非产业交流对话，探索构建中非国家 中小微企业对话机制。我们将支持中国信息通信发展研究院、中国电子信息产业发展研究院等智库研究机构，通过智库对话会、联合研究等方式，帮助非洲破解现代化进程中的障碍。我的分享就这些，预祝本次研讨会取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
I thank Mr. Li Lejun for his statement. Let me now invite Dr. Kwabena Ayerebi, Director of Banking Operations, the African Import-Export.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Jiang Feng, Head of Mission of China to the African Union, Your Excellency, Ms. Lerato Dorothy Matabogin, AUC Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, Honorable Dr. Semeniu Keskes, Technology Advisor to the Ministry of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends. It is a real honor and a responsibility to address you today on behalf of the African Export-Import Bank. Africa stands today at the threshold of a new era, one that requires a reimagining of our pathway to development and the imperative to take our peoples out of poverty. And there is no better example of a nation that has taken its economy and its people through such a transformative journey in recent history than China. A journey built on a foundation of long-term strategic planning, massive infrastructure development, human capital investment, and global integration. Over the past 2 decades, China has emerged not merely as a trading partner, but as a co-architect in Africa's long-term development vision. As we gather under the theme, supporting Africa's industrialization, promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development, the key question we have to ask ourselves is, how can we leverage China-Africa cooperation beyond projects to a partnership in development planning? When the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, was launched in the year 2000, it signaled a new era. That partnership has now matured from aid-based engagements to pragmatic long-term cooperation. Through China's strategic priorities like the Belt and Road Initiative, we have seen investments in transport corridors, ports, and energy infrastructure that have physically connected African economies to global value chains. And importantly, today's cooperation frameworks increasingly align with Africa's own development blueprint. Agenda 2063, National Industrialization Plans, and African Continental Free Trade Area. This evolution marks a shift from financing of assets to planning futures. China's investments in Africa have exceeded $50 billion in cumulative foreign direct investments and loans by 2024. And these have defined our development trajectory. From Ethiopia's Hawassa Industrial Park, which employs thousands, to South Africa's wind farms powering sustainable growth, China's capital bridges Africa's infrastructure gap. These are emerging industrial ecosystems that create jobs and foster skill. The next step is integration, connecting these zones to local economics, power systems, logistic networks, and regional markets under the AFCFTA. Exim Bank was founded with a mandate to promote trade in Africa. But we recognize the fact that we cannot just finance trade without ensuring that the infrastructure foundation that drives trade is there. We also work on a 5-year strategic planning cycle, and our current and future and previous 5-year plans have focused on industrialization and export development of our member countries. Our project preparation financing has supported multiple infrastructure projects to become bankable, with the potential of transforming the economies of our member countries. The industrial parks and export processing zones we have financed now stretch from East to West Africa. We are the largest financier to the Dangote refinery petrochemical plant, which became operational recently. And we look forward to financing similar projects here in Ethiopia and across the continent. In most part, what we have seen is that our interventions tend to focus on the national development plans and private sector initiatives. What we think would be truly transformational is if we found a means to extract out of these national development plans those interlinkages across the continent that creates the true scale that will drive us. And there are examples out there. If we take the Lobito Corridor project, which connects multiple countries in Southern Africa region, we believe it provides a blueprint that must be replicated to truly drive the needed continent-wide industrial transformation. As an institution, we've also recognized the need to diversify our source of funding of our interventions. In April of this year, we raised our first Panda bonds, and in the near future, we'll be looking to finance our first project in renminbi. In June of this year, Afreximbank was also approved as a direct participant in China's cross-border interbank payment systems, which now means that we can continue our interventions across the continent with financing in renminbi, which is the currency of our largest trade partner, China. We, as well as other African institutions, will certainly stand to benefit from China's large-scale transformative experiences to further accelerate these modest gains. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a minute that we establish China-Africa Development Planning Institute, where African and Chinese planners design regional industrial strategies together, where data systems, forecasting tools, and monitoring frameworks are co-developed, where the ethos of China's 5-year planning approach is adapted to African realities. That kind of institutional partnership will further strengthen Africa's capacity and desire to plan, coordinate, and lead its industrial future. Excellencies, the relationship between China and Africa is not a one-way transfer of resources or expertise. It is a dialogue, a partnership of equals. Together, through coordinated and sustainable planning, China and Africa can design the blueprint for shared prosperity. A prosperity that will not only be measured in GDP, but in the dignity, resilience, and opportunity of our people for generations to come. Thank you for listening.
I thank Dr. Kwabena for his statement. Let me now invite Dr. Yuan Shenglong, who also traveled from Beijing to attend this seminar, who is a division director, the Institute for International Economic Research, National Development and Reform Commission of China. You have the floor.
Your Excellent Ambassador, AUC Commissioner, and the Minister Assistant, distinguished guests, experts, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great honor to participate in this seminar on supporting Africa's industrialization, promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development as a research representative from a Chinese think tank. The Chinese Academy of Macroeconomic Research, where I worked, is a national high-end think tank in China. We have long tracked and studied issues related to China-Africa cooperation. To advance Africa's goal of achieving industrialization, today I will exchange views with you on this important theme. As we know, China-Africa friendship dates back to the mid 20th century, with extensive and in-depth cooperation in political, economic, cultural, and other fields. China has always regarded Africa as an important strategic partner, actively provide support in financing, technology, and talent for Africa's industrialization process. From infrastructure construction to industrial park development, from agricultural advancement to energy exploration, China-Africa cooperation projects span the Africa continent, injecting strong momentum into Africa's economic and social development. Currently, the world is undergoing profound changes unseen in a century, with challenges such as market volatility, geopolitical conflicts, resource shortages, and climate change becoming increasingly prominent. As one of the world's most promising regions for development, Africa's industrialization process is of great significance to global sustainable development. China and Africa have strong economic complementarity. China-Africa development strategy and planning cooperation not only align with the interests of both sides, but also serve as an important measure to address global challenges. I have observed three notable achievements in China-Africa strategy and planning cooperation. First, the scope of cooperation continues to expand. To date, 55 African countries and the African Union have signed Memorandum of Understanding with China on Belt and Road Initiative cooperation. Additionally, countries such as Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Mauritania, Morocco, Mozambique, and Sierra Leone and the African Union have signed BRI cooperation plans with China, translating the MOU into concrete actions. Second, consensus on the cooperation continues to grow. Heads of state and government of African countries, as well as leaders of the EU, were invited to the first, second, and the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, playing a crucial role in the success of these forums. Africa has become one of the most important directions for the BRI cooperation. During the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, that is FOCAC, the joint statement on deepening cooperation with the framework of the Global Development Initiative was related, proposing to actively advance the initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization and support the third, cooperation mechanisms have become more mature. AAC has successfully held the 2015 Johannesburg Summit, the 2018 Beijing Summit, and the 8th Ministerial Conference in 2021. In December 2021, China's National Development and Reform Commission and the Africa Union Commission signed a MOU on establishing a coordination mechanism for BRI cooperation, holding regular meetings to further align the BRI with AU's Agenda 2063 and promote practical cooperation in trade, energy, civil aviation, and other fields. Under the guidance of these strategic plans, practical China-Africa cooperation have yielded positive outcomes. In infrastructure connectivity, China has actively participated in African projects, constructing a number of transportation, energy, and telecommunication projects that have improved Africa's development condition. For example, the Addis Ababa to Djibouti Railway, the first standard gauge transnational electrified railway in East Africa, has become continuous growth in transport revenue and diversified service. The Banguela Railway in Angola has become a key support for the country's energy corridor construction and economic development. The Lekki Deep Sea Port project in Nigeria, now completed, has become a major modern deep water port in West and Central Africa. In trade connectivity, China has remained Africa's largest trading partner for 16 consecutive years. In 2024, China-Africa trade reached 2.1 trillion yuan, that is approximately $295.6 billion US dollars, a 60.1% increase, setting a new historical record. In financial integration, China has provided financial support to Africa through various channels, promoting industrial development and livelihood improvement. China has signed bilateral agreements on promotion and protection of investments with 34 African countries, and the avoidance of double taxation agreement with 21 African countries. China's investment stock in Africa exceeds 50 billion US dollars, with significant achievements in agricultural and poverty reduction cooperation. As you know, China recently successfully convened the first plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and reviewed the proposal on formulating the 15th five-year plan for national development and the national economic and social development. That is a pivotal programmatic document for China's future. It explicitly set the task of expanding the high-level opening up and creating a situation of win-win cooperation. We believe that despite international uncertainties, the goal of China-Africa cooperation remains steadfast. Under the framework of the Comprehensive Strategic Cooperative Partnership, we will jointly enhance people's well-being and accelerate the building of a China-Africa community with a shared future in the new area. We propose that to better support Africa's path to green, coordinated and sustainable industrialization, China-Africa strategy and planning cooperation should be focused on 5 key directions. The first, strengthen policy communication and coordination. China and Africa should further enhance high-level exchanges, establish closer strategic partnerships, and strengthen policy communication and coordination. Additionally, cooperation in international affairs should be strengthened to safeguard the interests of developing countries and promote a more just, equitable international order. Second, deepen industry cooperation and integration. China will actively deepen industry cooperation with Africa, focusing on green development, artificial intelligence, the digital economy, health, tourism, and agriculture. This will facilitate industrial upgrading and economic growth. Simultaneously, technical cooperation will be enhanced to share advanced technologies and management experience, improving Africa's independent innovation capacity. Third, enhance infrastructure development cooperation. Infrastructure is the foundation of economic development. China and Africa should further strengthen cooperation in transportation, energy, telecommunications, and other fields. Construction strategic and overarching infrastructure projects to improve Africa's development condition. The first, strengthen talent cultivation and exchange. Talent is key to development. China will enhance talent cultivation and exchanges, providing more training opportunities and scholarships to help Africa cultivate high-quality technical and managerial professionals. Enterprises from both sides are encouraged to strengthen cooperation through joint ventures and partnership to facilitate the exchange and sharing of technology and management experience. The fifth, strengthen financial cooperation and innovation. Finance is the lifeblood of economy. China and Africa should enhance financial cooperation and provide more funding for projects. At the same time, financial regulatory cooperation should be strengthened to prevent financial risks and ensure the stability of financial markets. In conclusion, China-Africa development strategy and the planning cooperation is a long-term task that requires joint effort, enhance the communications and mutual progress. I'm confident that with the concreted efforts of both sides, China-Africa development strategy and planning cooperation will yield even more fruitful results, making a great contributions to Africa's industrialization process and also the global sustainable development. That's all. Thank you.
I thank Dr. Yuan Shenglong for his presentation. Now we have the second session on China-African cooperation in new energy and development. We have three speakers, Mr. Stephen from UNIDO, Mr. Ali Zafar, Economic Advisor from UNDP, Ethiopian office, and Dr. Samson Mekwebatnau, Director of Sustainable Energy Center of Excellence, Addis Ababa Science and Technology University. First, let me invite Mr. Stephen Benias Kargbo, UNIDO representative and director of the sub-regional office in Ethiopia. You have the floor, sir.
Excellency Ambassador Fan, Excellency Commissioner, Excellency senior government officials, and from China and from the African Union, from other governments here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is my very first function outside of UNIDO when I arrived here barely 2 months ago. So allow me to introduce myself as well as to introduce UNIDO. I've had the privilege of working in Ethiopia from 2013 to 2017, so this is my second inning. From here, I went to to Tanzania, spent about 5 years in Tanzania, and then I was representative in China until the beginning of September this year, for almost 4 years. So this is a really special privilege for me to have this very first function outside of UNIDO being with the government of China. So I'm really privileged to be here. Second, I would like to emphasize that UNIDO, as a specialized agency of the United Nations, our job is to facilitate partnerships between governments, between institutions, and to ensure that what we do for our member states counts for their own development. I have had previous speakers underscore the importance of industrialization, meaning we probably can say there is no single country in the world that has become prosperous without going through the path of industrialization. Why should it be different for Africa? It has to be the same. And the most recent example of that path to industrialization is China. When you are in China, you would see what planning, careful execution can do to transform a country within 4 decades, basically into an industrial masterpiece, and to have dented poverty with almost over 800 million people within that short period. There is no country in this world that has achieved that. I think, Ambassador, you are better placed to speak about China, so I'm sometimes tempted to speak more about this because this is important for the partnership between Africa and China. And I'm happy the topic here is about green development, coordinated development, and sustainable development. UNIDO's mandate is inclusive and sustainable industrial development. Later on, if I have opportunity to speak more, I try to stick to the slides. I have some slides that are prepared for you. But I want to say that from my little time in China, the key thing about their development pathway is not only about coordinated development, it's about continuous policy implementation. I think this is an area that we need to rethink. I've had the opportunity to interact with African ambassadors in Beijing quite a lot, and we have questioned ourselves. For African governments, including the country where I come from, I'm from Sierra Leone, part of the challenge we do have with our industrial policies and our development plans is that probably every 5 years, maybe at maximum 10, when one priority is changed to another, we start all over again with our development planning. So it's about coordination, but it's also about continuous implementation. I leave that topic because it's a very sensitive one for politicians, but I don't shy away from it because I'm an African and I make no apology for recognizing the challenge that this poses. Now let me try to tell you a little bit about, I hope this thing works from here. Let me try. Or I would ask, next slide. Yes. For next slide. Excellent. I would like to talk about 3 points. Industrialization, and I will talk about how ill the landscape of industrialization is. And second, I will talk about energy. I know that I have been requested to talk about new energy, but allow me to deviate a little bit from that because I believe that we have to talk about both old and new. And then I'll talk a little bit about cooperation and how this can be anchored within the Forum for China-Africa Cooperation. So I try again. Oh, okay, it should be the other way. Current state of affairs as they are, we know that in Africa there are 3 major challenges related to industrialization. First, it has to do with the inadequate infrastructure, and I think there has been a lot spoken about it. Second, is about low manufacturing. Later on, I will show you some figures that present this case, and limited innovation. And we have had other speakers talk about capacity, about talent development, and so on, and how this is important for driving industrialization. Look at the way it is right now. The SDGs have requested that from 2015, we're supposed to come to this point of 24.2%, a doubling more or less of the share of manufacturing as global GDP. This is where we are right now. A little bit above here because this was a little bit old data, but around this area, 14.4, 14.8. So you can see the trajectory. There is no way African countries or LDCs can achieve the doubling of this by 2030 as required. So we're way behind. Let me show you a story of what China is doing, and I'll put your attention to this line. This is China, okay? The share of the country's groups, you can see that China has leaped way up in terms of its share of manufacturing value added globally. This is an important story. You would see, maybe I used to be a teacher, so I move a little bit. But I need a speaker, so maybe I have to go back. But I want you to see that between 2000 and 2024, China's share of global manufacturing added, thank you, now I'm more increased fivefold. Fivefold. I don't know any country in the world that is able to achieve this, but let me just keep that figure in your mind. Second, in terms of manufacturing value added per capita, we also see here, you see this black line? No, sorry, not this. 1 second. No. Yes. This black line here, this is China. In terms of manufacturing, China remains the hub and has been able to get a growth of over 55%. So, I would not go to all the details, but believe you me, if you can see below here, the only set of countries where manufacturing value added per capita, by the way, you have manufacturing value added generally in terms of GDP. It doesn't respect the size of the population, but we know when you talk about China, you have to talk about population to compare it with Ethiopia or with Sierra Leone. That's why we normalize it per capita. So when it is per capita, it's a bit more comparable. Low-income countries from 2015, basically no growth in manufacturing value added. Now you understand why I say the industrial situation in Africa is in intensive care, because there's a lot to be desired. Let's look at energy. The electrification rate in Africa is extremely low when you compare it to that of China. China's electrification capacity, electricity capacity, installed capacity, is about 10 times that of the entire African continent. I'm saying this because then it helps us understand the story of China's industrialization as it is linked to energy. And this is why the story of Africa's industrialization has to be intricately linked with energy. And this is the case I'm trying to build and for us to understand and inform policy that will come afterwards. I am a firm believer that energy poverty is the parent of all poverties. I don't want to say the mother of all poverty, because in Africa, the bad things we reserve them for mothers and the good ones for fathers. So we can say maybe the father of all poverties. Without resolving the constraint of energy poverty, I'm afraid we may not be able to do more in terms of industrialization. But I tell you, even for education, even for health, even for many other social sectors, it is intricately linked to our ability to electrify and have affordable, reliable, and we can say green or possibly clean energy. This is why the question for me today, being given this topic to talk about new energy, should we have a conversation about a shift from hydrocarbons to renewables or hydroelectricity, or perhaps a more reasonable way to look, is with respect to a mix of these two sources of energy. In terms of China-Africa cooperation, I give you a quick picture of China's investments with respect to construction, mining, and manufacturing. These are the biggest chunks of China's investment in Africa. If you look at the FOCAC arrangement, beginning from 2022 to 2024, these are the key areas that were highlighted and that relate to the cooperation between China and Africa. In the latest one, I was there last year in September 2024 for the FOCAC, and a lot of things happened, very interesting things. First of all, big announcements were made when that China was going to support with $51 billion, of which 30 billion with respect to credit, 11 billion, more or less you can say grants, and 10 billion with respect to investments. What are we doing to harness this opportunity? There were also 10 partnership actions from 1 to 10. You can see my favorite is the one number 2, because it talks about the zero tariff and what that can mean for many countries. I will not go into details around that. I'm just listing them. Later, perhaps, we can have a conversation around this. these are some of the areas where I believe the cooperation between China and Africa can focus, especially with respect to sustainable supply chains, including mining, as well as technology, infrastructure, and agriculture. We, as UNIDO, we have worked with the African Union to develop a number of frameworks, including the Accelerated Industrial Development for Africa, the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan for Africa, and so on. I can list many of them. And then the industrial parks, common industrial parks for regional approaches. I therefore believe that with respect to energy, also we have this from 2022 to 2024, but also even more recently, the issues of the cooperation around energy. One last point I want to make is with respect to private public partnerships. I call it drama because I think that one of the greatest criticisms that China has faced, wrongly or rightly, is about claims being made that China is indebting African countries. Afro-Exim Bank, I think you know this story very well. But I challenge us as African countries or African nations to look more into the issue of disclosure. I think with any country, whether it's China, whether it's in Europe, whether it's anywhere, you get what you negotiate for. So the issue of negotiation and the issue of disclosure of these agreements is very important for mutual accountability, not only for parties, but also for the public that are involved. So I would like to underscore this point, and perhaps not go into detail right now because I think my time is up. I was warned. Thank you very much, and I look forward to any interaction going further. But I want to really appreciate the invitation and that UNIDO stands ready to be part of this process, including the development of industrial policies. For many years, UNIDO advocated the importance of industrial policies. We know that many institutions undermined the importance of industrial policies for years. Now they have come back exactly to where UNIDO has always been in support of industrial policy. One last word. With China, from the 70s, UNIDO was privileged to be part of China's success story. Many of you have heard today about an area in the 70s, 80s. UNIDO supported China to go on study tour to many other countries to learn from them. 70s, 80s. 6 countries, I won't name the countries right now. When they came back from the study tour, what the government of China decided was to put together a blueprint for the establishment of special economic zones, including industrial parks, starting with the coastal area. That was the first one today that we know as Shenzhen. Nobody can recognize Shenzhen again being transformed from a fishing community to what it is today. That is what cooperation can do. It is not because of UNIDO. It's because of leadership in the government of China. It's because of consistent policy development and continuous implementation. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Stephen for his energetic presentation. Let me now invite Mr. Ali Zafar, Economic Advisor at the UNDP Ethiopia. You have the floor, sir.
Not working? Is it working? Okay. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here at this event that brings together leaders, experts, and partners from China and across Africa to advance cooperation in new energy development. The theme of this session is China-Africa cooperation in new energy development resonates deeply with African development trajectory and with UNDP's mission of accelerating the just energy transition. Across Africa, energy remains the foundation of industrialization and human development. yet over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity. Ethiopia's energy compact from 2025 to 2030 sets out a bold yet achievable vision to 75% electricity access and 57% clean cooking access by 2030, with 95% of power generation in renewables, one of the cleanest profiles in Africa. Now, I want to make 3 big points today in this presentation. The first is that China has shaken up the world renewable system. In an era of climate change and in an era where fossil fuels have been shown to have worsening environmental impact, China's aggressive investment in wind and solar technology has really shaken the frontiers. The cost of solar panels has come down dramatically in the last 15 years. The cost of wind energy has come down, and China is willing to share this technology with the developing world. And the microeconomics of renewables, which was very uncompetitive 15, 20 years ago, has now become competitive in large part thanks to China. And we cannot underemphasize Chinese contribution. The best example with UNDP is the China-Ethiopia-UNDP trilateral cooperation on renewable energy technology transfer. Through this collaboration, we've achieved some key metrics. A 45 kilowatt solar powered irrigation system. It's Ethiopia's largest solely for irrigation, supporting many smallholder farmers. A 300 cubic meter waste to energy biogas plant installed in Waleta Sodo University, the first of its kind in Ethiopia and East Africa, and 9 kilowatt standalone solar systems installed in 3 rural schools have given 2,000 students access to digital learning tools. Collectively, these interventions have contributed to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by over 157,000 tons of CO2 equivalent in rural communities, benefiting more than 50,000 people. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point is a deeper point. We are in a very complex era in international geopolitics. We are in an era of conflict. We are in an era of fragmentation. We are in an era of declining ODA to Africa. We are in an era of tariff wars. In that era, we need to find the right framework and the right ways to continue to support the industrialization and development of Africa. China represents a very big opportunity. It has a long legacy in the continent. It has a lot of field presence in many, many countries. And it's able to mobilize at scale significant blended finance. It's able to bring in at scale renewable energy, and it's able to contribute to building local manufacturing capacities. As I said earlier, the economics of renewables has changed. And with China's investment in mini grids, in financing some of the wind turbines, there's a huge opportunity for scaling up this in Africa. And China's concessional finance and UNDP's experience in locking, de-risking private capital can really help to expand access to affordable clean energy. I would be bold to say that Africa needs China because no one has the expertise and the field involvement that China has in solar and the ability to work at a very micro level. Second point I want to make is engage the private sector. The Chinese model of wind and solar is a private sector development model with support from the subsidies and the government support. I spent a lot of time in China 10 years ago, and when Justin Lin was the chief economist at the World Bank, we worked on a study on Chinese manufacturing. And so we traveled to Shenzhen, Guangdong, Chengdu, and many other places, Wenzhou, Huangzhou. And the most striking thing as an outsider to see the Chinese model was, one is the dynamism of the Chinese model. Two is that symbiosis between the public and the private sector. It was like the government and the entrepreneurs, especially in the enterprises, in many of the Chinese local governments, were working side by side. This is a model to bring to Africa and to bring in the private sector as a key driver of energy transition. The third point is China, Ethiopia, and UNDP together are working on innovation and financing platforms to pilot digital and climate smart technologies. 4, as I've said, is to work on manufacturing chains. And 5, we want to replicate the Chinese experience in Africa the way Deng Xiaoping had a vision of learning from Western technology. Now is the time for Africa to learn from Chinese technology. It's very important in the field of renewable energy. So my final point is that in UNDP, we stand ready to collaborate with China and Africa, mobilizing climate finance, digital innovation, private sector partnerships. As I've said, the world is in a challenge, but in times of challenge, there are opportunities. The energy movement is going to continue. Expansion of renewables is going to continue. The search for good solutions will continue. And we, at UNDP, we really believe in a strong partnership, not only China and Ethiopia, but across the UN agencies, to really help electrify Africa, to make sure that many of the people who don't have energy will have energy. This, after all, is the continent of sun. This is the continent of a lot of wind. Let's use it, let's develop it, and let's get China more and more involved in Africa. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Ali Zafar for his presentation. Let me now invite Dr. Samson Mekbib Atnau, Director of Sustainable Energy Center of Excellence, Addis Ababa Science and Technology University. You have the floor, sir.
Good morning. I would like to thank the organizers. Thank you. I would like to thank the organizers, the Chinese mission for the AU, and also the CRDC. And I am here representing Dr. Dereje Ngida, the president of Addis Ababa Science and Technology University. My name is Samson, and I'm currently serving as the head of Sustainable Energy Center of Excellence of our university. So I will talk first an overview of Addis Ababa Science and Technology University, then current global and Chinese collaboration efforts of us two, then strategies for convergence between China and Africa. Then finally, I will have a few words on the way forward. So the overview of Addis Ababa Science and Technology University, it is one of the two science and technology universities in the country, and it is more focused on postgraduate studies and research. So we have 3 colleges: the College of Engineering, which is the biggest, then College of Natural Science, and the College of Social Sciences. More than 47% of our staff are PhD holders. And the main feature of our university is we have 8 centers of excellences. So artificial intelligence, biotechnology, construction quality, and sustainable energy, which I am leading, is one of the center of excellences of the university. So if we see the strategic roadmap of our university, the blue dots show the milestones that we achieved from our establishment from 2011, and the yellow one shows partial fulfillment, which is on accreditation of our programs. So we have international accreditation, ABET accreditation for our undergraduate programs. We are ISO certified, and we are lagging behind in terms of fully equipping our Center of Excellence laboratories. So we are looking for more collaboration in terms of that. Then my centers, the Sustainable Energy Center of Excellence, has these thematic areas: hydropower, solar energy, biomass energy, wind energy, geothermal, and energy efficiency and storage. We have a very strong staff, more than 140 staff, and more than 45% of them are PhD holders and associate professors. So to reflect a bit on ASTU's effort for global collaboration, we had more than 70 international MOUs, including the University of Applied Science of Germany, the Ethiopian University of China, Huawei, CCC, and different universities and industries. So far we have collaborated with Chinese universities, for example, with Hubei University of Technology on a joint project. And we are also involved in China-Ethiopia Belt and Road Joint Laboratory Construction Project, the FOCAC framework, China-Africa Academic Networks, as well as joint research and staff and student exchanges are some of the existing collaborations we have with China. So to talk a little bit about the strategic convergence of China-Africa cooperation. So first, let me reflect what is the industry moment. Balance, trading balance, used as a driving force. And when we consider all these initiatives, the China initiative on supporting Africans' industrialization perfectly complements Africans' need for development and industrialization. Then when we see shared priorities, renewable energy generation is one, green hydrogen and clean fuel development, electrification of industry and transport in Ethiopia as well as in Africa, energy storage and digital energy systems, skill transfer, research and development, and all this could be good pointers for mutual collaboration and mutual innovation-driven partnership between Ethiopia and China. So a case example is the Belt and Road Joint Laboratory Project. that we collaborate with Hubei University of Technology, and it is supported by Ministry of Science and Technology, most of China. This area is sustainable material and green building systems, smart maintenance and infrastructure monitoring, training of researchers and engineers, as well as industrial technology transfer. So we had the honor of the visit from University of Hubei University of Technology, and we signed the project, and we had a visit from China's mission for the African Union as well. It took place in last September. Then I would like to say a few things about deepening our cooperation. One is establishing China-Africa joint centers of renewable energy innovation and pilot projects on clean energy, research labs, development of research labs on storage batteries and new energy vehicle technology. We could also collaborate academically in terms of launching joint postgraduate programs on renewable and sustainable energy. And the one that I want to highlight is local manufacturing of energy technologies is one area of collaboration that we are looking forward. And in all this, as to can be a bridge if you technology transfer to the region. The way forward, I think, will be fostering mission-oriented research collaborations, and we should start with the end in mind, and we should set at first a research agenda, our flagship project in terms of new energy development. Then we should coordinate all our efforts that are done in the industry, in the university, in the NGOs, as well as the government, towards achieving that goal. And we should convene different parts of research and development initiatives by the different stakeholders, foster effort to achieve result in priority areas, and complementarity of work already taking place in universities, industry, NGOs, and government is a good thing to achieve our flagship project of developing new energy for Africa and Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
I thank Dr. Samson for his excellent presentation and keeping the time perfectly for us. We will go to the third session now, which deals with China-African cooperation in labor-intensive industries. We have 5 speakers. Let me first invite Dr. Quentin Wondon, Director of International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, from UNESCO. You have the floor, sir.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Quentin Wondon. I am the director of the International Institute for Capacity Building of UNESCO, ICBA. So we are based right here in Addis, and our job is to help countries improve their education systems, and especially everything that has to do with teachers. And I just want to recognize the Ambassador, Excellency. You joined us for an event we had with the World Bank a few days ago. That was a global event on how to improve teacher professional development. Before sharing my slides, I also want to recognize about 15 people here, I think, who are part of the China-Africa Deans of Education Forum. This is an initiative between our institute, ICBA, Beijing Normal University, Zhejiang Normal University, I probably pronounced it wrong, and then UNESCO Enrolled, which is an institute in China. So what I was asked to do, I think, is to bringing a little bit the education dimension in this whole discussion about industrialization. And I'm not going to talk in my presentation about China-Africa cooperation, but what I would like to do is to make a very simple argument. And so please don't hesitate to interrupt me if I take too long, but I'll try to remain at 8-9 minutes that I have left. So this is a presentation that I made when the African Union had the Skills Week. Maybe some of you were part of this. This was a few weeks ago. It was a presentation I made before the Ministerial Roundtable. So the argument I want to make is very simple. TVET has potentially high labor market returns. Actually, I should have my computer here so I can see my slides. And it's also very important to improve TVET system to reduce constraints to growth. Now, especially in Africa, TVET enrollment rates and completion rates are very, very low. And I'll give you a little bit of data. We know how to improve TVET, and the African Union has just adopted a new strategy. This is a strategy on TVET for the next 10 years. But we need to have a bit more prioritization, even within this strategy. There are great examples of country innovations, and I'll mention one for Ethiopia. And finally, whether it's TVET or whether it's other parts of the education system, we need to really support teachers, and the issue of digitalization is very important for this, right? Well, let me not talk too much, otherwise I won't go through the presentation. Now, this is a little regression I did using data from household surveys, wage data. And what you have on the right-hand side is the returns to TVET education and other types of education, and the data is for 8 West African countries. When you talk to individuals in countries, TVET is sometimes perceived as a second-order education track, if you will, right? Students who may not be fully successful in the general education track go to TVET. But what I find very interesting in this slide and those results is that in red, you have the marginal benefit for your wage, right? The wage returns from technical TVET education, and these returns are actually higher in many countries than the normal general secondary track. And so I think it's very important to give that message that if you do TVET, you can actually get a good job and you get good earnings. And I think this will accelerate with the whole AI transition that is going on right now in countries with a higher premium, I think, for TVET. Literacy is extremely important. The returns to literacy are higher than the returns to primary education. That has lots of implications, but I won't go through that today. So TVET has very high returns for the individuals, right? That's what wage regressions tell us. Now, I won't go through this in all details, but the lack of skilled labor force is a key constraint seen by firms in Africa as well, and especially by firms that are a little bit larger. And if anybody wants those slides, I'm happy to send them afterwards to you, right? What this shows is that lack of skilled workforce is often the main constraint, or one of the main constraints by firms for their growth. And again, on the right, that this is a larger constraint for larger firms, which are very important, of course, for industrialization. Now, if you think about the size of the TVET sector in Africa, it's very, very small, right? This provides you both the size of the sector in absolute numbers, and then the share of the sector within the education system. And you can see that sub-Saharan Africa especially is extremely low, right? This is actually a sector that's probably more important for African countries than it may be, say, for a European country, right? In part because you can use TVET in the formal sector and in the informal sector, and you have, of course, a very large informal economy here. But the sector is much too small. So we need to invest much more in TVET in Africa. This is just to show you where some of the countries are in terms of the educational attainment rate, so that the share that completed post-secondary, non-tertiary education, technical education. South Africa is a bit an outlier, but most of the other African countries are at the bottom right here, behind me, so you can't see it perhaps, and just with a few percent of graduates. So again, we have to expand this sector. Now, we actually know what to do in many cases. There was a very good study, I won't be able to summarize it here, by UNESCO, the World Bank, and the ILO. And one of the emphasis or key messages was, of course, to strive for excellence, to focus on end results as opposed to just inputs, and then to really have a stronger evidence base to guide TVET strategies for industrialization in the countries. Because in many cases, we have countries, or we have a college or a university that might rely on more conjectured data or anecdotal data as opposed to very strong data. Now, this new strategy from the African Union, on the one hand, it's really, really great because it has a lot of very practical recommendations for member states in terms of what they can do for TVET. At the same time, it's a little bit complex, and this is what this slide shows, where it has the categorization of the recommendation. You have 96 recommendations by type of recommendation, right? Whether it's about governance, about policy, digital and green transformation, etc. And we need to find a way at the country level and even at the African Union level to try to understand what would be the key priorities. And we have right now a survey going on with the African Union on specifically that, trying to get people to give us their feedback on what the priorities should be. Now, I said I would mention great examples. I mean, there is in Ethiopia, and I'm not sure if they are represented here, what is called the TVET Institute, which is a university actually, and it trains TVET teachers that would go to the TVET colleges. And what I find very, very interesting, and few universities or institutes are doing this in Africa, but they did data collection 2 years ago. They did a tracer study, so they looked at how their graduates were doing. They did an employer study. They looked at what the employers wanted. They did a survey of their instructors, right? What would they recommend? And of course, they also did a survey of their current students. And when you do this kind of work that is not too expensive to do, you can get really great data to improve the quality and the relevance of what the TVET education provides. The relevance and the link between the TVET and the industry, I think you all know that, is often the weak link, and this can help you strengthen it. Now, I want to mention, for those who might not know, that apart from adopting a new TVET strategy, the African Union also adopted a new continental education strategy for Africa, and IGBA worked very closely with the team at the African Union on this. I just want to mention the 3 objectives that are specifically related to teachers in that strategy, because they are very relevant for TVET as well. The first one is very broad: improve teacher policies, education, and professional development, right? Who can say no to that? I mean, of course, we have to do that. Now, of course, you have to go into the details. The second one is a little bit more narrow, which is to increase the attractiveness of the teaching profession. Many teachers, whether it's the general education or TVET, are very poorly paid. Not in all countries, but in many countries. And the workload is really, really, really heavy, actually, with few support systems. We need to do better. And the third one, which matters even more for TVET than it does for general education, increasing the quality of the school leadership, including having more female school leaders. We can show that this has an impact which is positive on learning, which is quite substantial. Now, this is my last slide, so I hope I didn't go too long. When we ask also those teachers who are really the core of preparing the workforce for industrialization, if you will, right? When we ask them what do they need, we get a lot of responses that online resources are the key. They also need peer learning system. Ethiopia has created a very interesting summer program. They have trained in the last 2 years 140,000 teachers. We are helping them evaluate this program. This is data from that evaluation. But I think the whole issue of digitalization is, of course, incredibly important for industrialization. It's incredibly important to strengthen the teacher profession, which will help us having the workforce that we need. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
I thank Dr. Quentin for his presentation. Let me now invite Mr. Islam Suwele, Head of Entrepreneurship and Investment, Department, Economy, Trade, Tourism, Industry and Mining, the African Union Commission. Is not. My apologies. I was just told that Mr. Islam is not around. We have Professor Ma Ning, Dean of School of Education Technology, Beijing Normal University, who came all the way from Beijing. You have the floor, sir. Ma'am, sorry.
Sorry. Just a minute. Okay. His Excellency Ambassador Jiang Feng and dear ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the organizer, the mission of China to the AU to give me the opportunity to sharing the topic utilizing technology. Sorry. To utilizing the technology to promote better learning and teaching. Some explanation about the educational informatization in China. Okay. First, let me give a brief introduction about the university and also our institute. Beijing Normal University is a comprehensive and research-intensive university that directly under MOE China, and with its research focused on the sciences and humanities, also the teacher education. And FOE is a renowned research institute in China, and it's ranked #1 in the education mainland. Sorry, I can't see it because my eyesight is not very good. And ranked #7 in the QS World Ranking for the education and the training subject in 2025. And also the School of Educational Technology is an academic school under the FOE, and is research focus and research field focused on the technology enhanced learning. And now let's go to the overview of educational informatization in China. Today we talk about the industrialization. But we all know that the development of industry cannot do without the development of education, and also if we don't have the talent cultivation, we can't do the good industry. So over the 4 decades, Chinese government pay great priority on the development of educational informatization, and it's also the educational informatization is regarded as an effective way to accelerate the modernization of education, and is a great significance for what? Cultivating innovative talents and building a leading country in education. And this is a timeline for the strategies. But during the whole development of the process, we deeply realized that the educational informatization is a long-term systematic project. It may contain many important factors, such as the educational information policy, construction of information infrastructure, digital resources construction, and also the teacher professional development. Today, in recent years, China's educational informatization has developed to a new stage. It's about how to empower education with artificial intelligence. And the Chinese government implement the National AI Plus initiative, integrating AI into all the aspect, elements, and stages of education and teaching. Okay, and what is AI? So we think AI is a computer programs or systems capable of perceiving, organizing, and ultimately make a decision and executing actions akin to humans. The key technologies or AI may contain or involve these aspects, such as human-machine natural interaction, robotics and intelligence control, knowledge graph, VR and AR, also the computer vision, NLP, machine learning, and big data. And we can divide the AI into three types. That is the computational intelligence, perceptive intelligence, and cognitive intelligence. And all these three types of AI has developed very quickly in China, such as the large model. From this slide, we can see that by 2025, by July 2025, China has released over 1,500 large models, ranking first globally. And how to use the AI, such as the large model, into the education as the co-direction of AI empowering educational transformation. Large educational models have been, developed, especially in the educational scenarios. So we can see these large models just for basic education, also for the higher education. And also in March 2024, the MOE of China initiated the LEAD initiative. That means to develop the GEST being incorporated into the action plan as a code 2. And also in April 2025, the MOE and 8 other departments issued the opinion and accelerating the digitalization of education is just to accelerate, to build the vertical large models in fields. And here I must mention that non-domestic institutions with A-level disciplines in education joined forces to build GEST pedagogy, which is led by the Beijing Normal University. And also, in addition to the application, the AI in education, the Chinese government also pay very important attention to the AI education. That means just like this strategy, the AI education should be basically popularized in primary and secondary schools by 2030. Okay, this is an overview of the AI in China. And now let's go to the part of field and research and practice on teaching and learning enhanced by technology, especially by AI. I concluded all the research, and I think maybe we can talk about this topic in these following 5 aspects. First is the theoretical research or AI technology enhanced teaching and learning. It may contain educational information, smart learning, learning sciences, instructional design, teacher and students' digital literacy development, ethics and equity in smart education. Such as this is a smart education in China. It provides high quality courses and diverse learning features for all the educational stages. And this is the teacher digital literacy. The Chinese government pay, they think the teachers' development is very, very important for education. So in 2022, the MOE launched the framework for teacher digital literacy here, that is as an educational industry standard. And this is a classroom in China, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. And the second is the construction and research of digital and intelligent learning environment. It may contain smart campus, integrated spaces, intelligent educational tools and equipment, VR and AR, digital technologies, knowledge graph, AI agents, digital badge, adaptive learning platform, something like this. And this is just design of the smart campus. Actually, in China, all the universities and most of the primary and secondary schools have realized this smart campus. And here is the VR and AR. It's about AR inquiry tools in science classes. I think it's general for all the students in China, also for the students in Africa. And here is the agent. AI agents have been developed to different roles or different kinds of AI agents to help the students to realize the personalized feedback and personalized interaction. Okay, the third is the research and innovation in intelligent education applications. That means how to use the AI in the schools teaching and learning. It also contains the AI education, AI-empowered innovation of teaching and learning method, personalized learning and precision teaching and learning. And this is a human-machine collaborative education. We think today or in the future, the human and the machine should learn or work together. So human and machine, how to cooperate is very important. We just built this model. This may be 5 stages. On the different stage, the human and the machines can do different things. And this is a personalized learning. We just can use the data to analyze what students need and to promote them materials and some videos or homeworks. And this is a data-driven intelligent teaching and training. Here is an intelligent tool named Great AI Master, which is developed by the FOE, by our, the Faculty of Education. And it can deduct quantitative and qualitative analysis on data and generative teaching evaluation report for pre-service teachers and in-service teachers. Okay, the fourth is educational big data and educational governance. And the fifth is the intelligent education ecosystem and supporting system. We believe that with the development of the technology, the ecosystem of education should be changed, and we need to build a cooperative ecosystem. It's more open and more inclusive, and can support the students to learning personalized. Okay. To conclusion, here. EI is a systematic project encompassing 4 subsystems. That is road, vehicles, goods, driver training, and another 2 intelligent supports is policies and standards and initiatives, pedagogies. In all these 6 aspects, I think China all past and through have many, maybe have some many experiences, and maybe I think maybe Africa can learn through it and to shout the process. And during the past 3 days of China-Africa Deans of Education Forum, we have deepened our mutual understanding each other. We strive to find feasible paths for promoting in-depth cooperation, such as students and faculty exchange, joint research, teacher and principal training, to promote SDG 4 in Africa, to establish a community for a shared Ubuntu future. And that's the last slide for my presentation. We hope that China and Africa can continuously deepen educational cooperation, empower the younger generation for better education, for better future. Thank you.
Professor Ma for her presentation. Let me now invite Ms. Beatrice Igulu, Policy Officer, Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment for the African Union Commission. You have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. I sat down there and looked at the huge screen and looked at the timer. It's like he's the manager, he's the one who created time, the 10 minutes. And I looked at my flash that had the slides. And when I have slides, once I start talking, I don't finish. So I ended up being the age that I am, using papers. So here I'll not miss anything, and I know that I'll manage in the 10 minutes. Thank you, moderator. Your Excellencies, I know Excellency Lorato has been here, but she has gone. But Your Excellency, Ambassador of China, all protocol observed, I stand here to talk about what most people have not talked about since morning. I know that there are tables set with food, but no one has talked about agriculture and its importance. And I work for the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, and Sustainable Environment. I was given a topic to talk about labor-intensive industries. First, I was off. I said, oh, this is going to remind me of the the drudgery of women in this industry. But I said, again, this is a positive thing, because then we are looking for employment for women and for youth, and it doesn't have to be the hand hoe. So I said, this is a good topic to talk about. And we are talking about this topic at a time when we have implemented 20 years of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, and we are starting the third decade, which is the Kampala Declaration. And the Kampala Declaration brings in new aspects, especially the vision on agri-food systems. And agri-food systems means that we are, all of us in this room, whether you have talked about education, whether you have talked about energy, whether you've talked about water, everything, we need you to work with us to domesticate the Kampala Declaration. If we start in 2026, by 2035, for us in the CADAP, the CADAP framework, we will have delivered on the Africa we want. And for me, I like the timing of the seminar, because it also brings in the aspects of the FOCAC and the Beijing meeting that was held in 2023, and the bid for industrialization from the President of China. So I think we are in good business if we break the silos, so then we can deliver on what I'm talking about. And I would like to mention the role of labor-intensive industries in Africa's transformation. Labor-intensive industries, particularly in the field that I work in, agriculture, rural development, blue economy, and sustainable environment, includes agro-processing, light manufacturing, fisheries, to play a crucial role in the industrialization journey. These sectors are important because they create, among others, 5 important outcomes. They create employment at scale, especially for youth and women in rural and coastal areas. They enhance value addition to Africa's abundant natural and agricultural resources. They strengthen regional value chains, which boosts the intra-African trade. All of you are aware of the commencement of trading. Our secretariat is based in Accra, And you know, so much that they trade in comes from our hand hoe currently, and with industrialization, we don't want to talk about the hand hoe. These industries also promote rural revitalization, so that bridges the urban and rural divide. The industries also support environmental sustainability through low carbon resource efficient production models. By integrating these industries into sustainable value chains, Africa can address both economic and ecological priorities, reducing poverty while conserving ecosystems. I also need to highlight the progress and opportunities with China-Africa partnership. In the week of 21st, 24th October, we held our 6th Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment, and the member states guided us and stressed the importance of South-to-South cooperation, and for us that meant looking at China. And then, with the long history of China's industrialization through capacity building, investment and technology transfer, we hope to leverage on that partnership and deliver and take an example of the 3,000 Chinese enterprises that are operating across the continent. We are looking forward to scaling them up. And the key areas of cooperation that have been flourishing that we would like to scale include, I'll just highlight four in the areas where I work. Agriculture and rural development. Through the China-Africa Agriculture Cooperation Framework and training programs led by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs of China, over 10,000 African professionals have received technical training in agricultural mechanization, irrigation, and agro-industrial park management. The blue economy development, cooperation in sustainable fisheries, aquaculture, and coastal infrastructure enhances food security and supports livelihoods, while joint research with African coastal states strengthens marine resource management. In the green and circular production, partnerships between Chinese and African enterprises in waste recycling, renewable energy use in agro-processing, and sustainable packaging are advancing low-emission manufacturing models. Industrial parks and zones. The Eastern Industrial Zone in Ethiopia stands as a flagship model of Sino-African collaboration, creating thousands of jobs and serving as a blueprint for replication across the continent. I would like also to highlight enhancing human capital and innovation. At the heart of labor-intensive development lies human capacity. China-Africa cooperation increasingly emphasizes skills transfer, entrepreneurship, and technological exchange. Joint initiatives such as the UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, which we've just heard about, the African Inclusive Markets Excellence Center, and the partnerships with Chinese universities like Beijing Normal University and Peking University are equipping Africa's youth workforce with the industrial competitiveness in the 21st century. Moreover, digital tools and educational technologies are educational training, agricultural production management, sustainable, inclusive, and green value. Industry must align with sustainable development principles. Cooperation should therefore focus on low carbon production systems, integrating renewable energy in agro-processing and fisheries, circular economy models to minimize waste and water use, and climate-smart agriculture. In the area During friend.
Let me now invite and projects officer, the African.
Thank you, facilitator. I wanted to have that feeling of being assisted to come to the stage. My name is Annie. I'm the Senior Programs and Projects Officer at the AUI. For animal resources department with B. Let me recognize the presence of Your Excellency, the head of mission of China and representative. Let me recognize, although in absence, Madam Dor, the AU Commissioner for and Dr. Keskes, Minister, Assistant of Technology. Yeah. Let me recognize all of you. I want to serve all to introduce African Union in the African Bureau for Animal Resources, AU-IBA. It is a specialized technical office of the AU that has a mandate to coordinate the development and utilization of animal resources in the African continent. AU-IBA implements its programs. We have a program that deals with vaccinations, delivery of animal services. So One Health in Africa. We have the animal production program, chains that deals with feed and fodder and all that. The economic strength and the market that deals with building the capacity of African farmers, livestock farmers, to access markets both internally and externally. So basically you can see that our programs are designed in a way that they support the value chain all through. In line with our mandate, we have a big program that we are developing coming up that is called the Integrated Regional Value Chains Development in Africa. And I want basically to take you through it, although the time is quite limited, but I'll make sure that I'm very fast. Yes, because I'm going to share the presentation, so if there's something that you don't get, you get it from the presentation. Thank you. Oh, the screen is... Hello. The screen is so big. I don't know where to stand. Let me stand here. So the integrated regional livestock value chain is focusing on addressing root causes of livestock, challenges from production to market, and that means we are looking at the whole value chain, and it's a long-term program into which target projects fit. We are going to anchor collaboration with economic communities and the private sector as key partners, and we are going to pilot projects of value chains. Let me say that in line with the CANDEP, my colleague Beatrice talked about CANDEP, in line with the African Continental Free Trade Area, and of course, in line with Agenda 2063. And why is it important to do that? Is because the implementation of this value chain approach, which with its focus on processing, trade, and inclusive engagement, directly addresses the CADE priorities of value chain and agri-food systems, inclusivity and equity, and resilience and sustainability. Why is it important for us to do that? Africa's livestock sector supports over 7% of rural livelihoods, yet it operates far below its potential. And apart from energy, I think agriculture and livestock is another door we need to unlock for us to be where we need to be in the African economy. Livestock systems face increasing threats from climate change. We have fragmented value chains. And of course, we have lack of harmonized frameworks across the regional economic communities, and this creates barriers to cross-border trade and investment. Another justification is that we have inadequate infrastructure, like the cold storage. We have low adoption to technology. We have lack of financial capital for livestock-related businesses. We have weak market linkages, and we have inconsistent supply of raw materials. We have, of course, climate change impacts. We have limited reliable market information. Of course, we have transboundary and vector-borne diseases that limit our access to markets. And then we have very low vaccine coverage. And we have farmers using very poor veterinary drugs. We have disintegrated value chains, and that's where the problem is. The input suppliers don't talk to the producers, they don't talk to the processors, they don't talk to the markets. And we have limitations to livestock markets just because of both tariff and the non-tariff barriers. So let me go straight away to the regional priority value chains for piloting. Let me say that we sat down with the regional economic communities and they all came up with their priorities. In AUIBA, we just don't prescribe what countries are going to do. We let them come on board, we discuss with them, and for East African community, they told us they want us to support them in dairy value chain. For INGAD, red meat and leather. For Economic Community of West and African States, they want us to support them in poultry meat. Then for Economic Community of Central African States, that is the ECAS, we are looking into poultry, eggs. And then for the Arab Maghreb Union, we are looking into supporting dairy value chain. So we plan to support the ecosystem through these major pillars for economic, social, and environmental impact. We are looking into policy harmonization. We are looking into data-driven decisions. We are looking into capacity excellence. We are looking into knowledge leadership, and we are looking into investment coordination. So briefly, this is what we are looking at. The success of an integrated approach relies on the collaboration of all stakeholders, including all of us. So basically, these are our key players. The primary beneficiaries, of course, they are there. We have rural communities. Then for key stakeholders and the partners, we have the governments, we have private sector, we have development partners like you, we have the civil society organizations. We are going to work with academic and research institutions. Thank God I've had a professor making a presentation. Then for institutional actors, we have the regional economic communities. We have financial institutions, somebody talked about banking. We have taken core partners as well, and of course, many more. This one. So you have seen that we look forward into collaborating with the China Mission. Great initiative. Thank you so much, facilitator. I'm sure you are very happy. So I can donate my remaining time. You don't want to repeat it? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I thank Dr. Annie for this. Since Mr. Islam Suwele has joined head of Entrepreneurship and Investment, Department of Economy, Trade, Tourism, Industry and Mining at the African Union Commission, I will give him the floor now. You have the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We still have around 10 minutes before it becomes noon. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, to welcome you all to this beautiful city of Addis Ababa. And it's really a great honor for me to address this distinguished gathering at the invitation of the Mission of China to the African Union and in collaboration with the Center for Dialogue, Research and Cooperation of Ethiopia. I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to the mission and all participants for convening this seminar, which comes at a pivotal moment in the Africa-China partnership. Africa remains the world's youngest continent, with over 73% of the population under 35 years, and roughly 20% aged 15 to 24. Each year, around 12 million young Africans enter the labor market. Yet only approximately 3.1 million formal jobs are created, creating a substantial employment gap. Labor incentive industries, including textiles, garments, agro-processing, light manufacturing, and construction, offer significant potential to absorb this workforce, create sustainable jobs, and drive inclusive economic growth. The African Union's Agenda 2063 emphasizes industrialization, employment, and economic transformation. In this context, cooperation with China can accelerate industrial development, generate jobs, and build capacities for Africa's rapidly expanding workforce. During the China-Africa Leaders Dialogue, of course, my colleagues said it, which was announced by His Excellency, the President, it underscores the China's commitment to Africa's sustainable development and industrial growth. This initiative aligns perfectly with Africa's ambitions to promote labor-intensive industries that create large-scale employment opportunities for youth, develop industrial parks and special economic zones with modern infrastructure and technology transfer, support value-added manufacturing that moves beyond raw materials exports to higher value goods, and encourage trade and regional integration in line with the African Union Continental Free Trade Area. Now, China's experience in developing labor-intensive industries provides valuable lessons in skills development, vocational training, industrial clustering, and sustainable production practices. Therefore, labor-intensive industries in Africa present tangible opportunities. Employment creation that if Africa expands its labor-intensive manufacturing base, it could create over 50 million new jobs by 2030. Now, directly addressing the continent's youth employment challenge. Now, youth entrepreneurship, which approximately 22% of working-age Africans are actively starting businesses, and the majority are concentrated in informal or micro-enterprises. Structured cooperation industrial zones and manufacturing hubs can integrate youth into formal labor markets. Leveraging also digital technologies and sustainable practices can increase productivity, reduce environmental impact, and align industrialization with Africa's green development goals. Now, China-Africa partnerships have already yielded results. We have now joint ventures in textiles, agro-processing, and light manufacturing across Ethiopia, Kenya, and Ghana, which have provided thousands of jobs, enhanced technical skills, and increased African export at the same time. Now, we need to scale these successes across the continent, which should be a key priority. Now, to maximize the impact of China-Africa collaboration in labor-intensive industries, we should now focus on job-centered industrialization by prioritizing that absorb large number of youth, especially women, and formalize employment. We also need to establish centers for training in technical skills, management, and entrepreneurship. We should also share Chinese expertise in production, quality standards, and industrial management, and align industrial projects with environmental standards, circular economic principles, and Africa's climate commitments. We should also ensure enabling environments, investment protection, and industrial incentives to attract sustainable partnership. Now, this joint seminar today exemplifies the spirit of collaboration needed to operationalize the 2023 initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization. Together, China and Africa can build modern industrial parks that absorb youth labor, establish regional value chains in labor-intensive sectors, promote green and sustainable industrial practices, ensuring long-term benefits, and foster private sector engagement and joint research in technology. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Africa stands at a historic crossroads. Its youthful population, vast resources, and entrepreneurial potential provide an unmatched opportunity for inclusive industrial growth. China-Africa cooperation in labor-intensive industries is not merely an economic imperative. It is a social and strategic one. Let us seize this moment to build industries that create jobs, empower youth, and deliver sustainable prosperity for Africa. Let our partnership be guided by innovation, inclusivity, and shared growth. I thank you for the attention, and I look forward to a productive seminar with actionable recommendations that will shape the future of Africa-China cooperation in industrialization. I thank you.
I thank Mr. Ismail Suele for his excellent presentation. This takes us to the fourth session now, a session that deals with China-Africa cooperation in digital economy. The first speaker would be Dr. Stephen Karingi, Director of Macroeconomics, Finance and Governance Division at the UNECA. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by acknowledging His Excellency Ambassador Jiang Feng, the head of mission of China to the African Union and also the representative of China to UNECA. and all protocols observed. I see a lot of my friends here, partners and collaborators who are in this meeting. When I was invited to come to this seminar, I basically had prepared myself to come and talk about industrialization in the continent in general. And then later I was asked, can you touch on the digital economy? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a bit about what I wanted to talk about, bringing in the element of finance, because I think that is one of the binding constraints in the industrialization agenda, and then touch on the digital economy. So it's great to address you in this seminar. We know that our continent is at a crossroads in the sense that we have this promise of transformative growth, but we still have persistent challenges, and why we are here is to see how do we overcome these challenges and take the opportunities. Now, industrialization, as we know and as we have heard, is not just an economic aspiration, but actually it's a necessity. I see Stephen here from UNIDO. There is a report that UNIDO published last year, and in that report they indicated that every manufacturing job generates 2.2 additional jobs in other sectors. So really, if we want to generate the jobs like the previous session was touching on, industrialization is critical. And we know how poorly our manufacturing sector in the continent is doing. Now, we have heard from Swale about the youthful population that we have. He has given us the numbers and the need for us to produce jobs for them. Now, the interesting thing is that in the next 25 years, the numbers that he cited on the African young population is going to triple. So even though we have a challenge now, that challenge is going to become even more greater. Yet, it is an opportunity which I believe this session on digital economy may actually want to talk about. I'm not going to go back again on the constraints to our industrialization, because I see there were sessions before us that talked about infrastructure, that talks about energy, that talks about the skills gap. But we have also heard from Beatrice about the issues of the AFCFTA, which is actually addressing the policies and regulations, because today industrialization in the continent is facing policies that are not aligned across the countries. So if you're going to talk about special economic zones, regional value chains, we need to deal with this question of the fragmented policies and regulations, and I believe that the AFCFTA is actually currently addressing that. Now, we have to give it to the African Union, because the African Union has actually responded to some of these challenges that have been highlighted with strategic frameworks. We are familiar with the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa. I've touched on the AFCFTA. I've mentioned the special economic zones. And all these frameworks are basically laying the groundwork for industrial transformation in the continent. But their success hinges on finance. We know that the continent currently has very low domestic savings. The investment rates are very low. Long-term capital, which is what you need for industrialization, is currently a challenge. And above that, there is a very high cost of capital that faces African industrialists. And this high cost of borrowing is actually conveyed by the non-investment grade scores that are attributed to African sovereigns by the international credit ratings. And at the ACA, we have done a study which estimated that Africa pays a high-risk premium of about 1.7 percentage points on Eurobonds issued on the international markets. At the same time, our capital markets are underdeveloped. So it's important that this issue of financing is addressed if we are going to tackle the challenge of industrialization. So as ECA, we are putting emphasis in supporting member states to build capacity in credit rating to better engage the rating agencies. And we are partnering with the African peer review mechanism of the African Union in its effort of creating the specialized body on the African credit rating agency. Also, we are supporting the development of domestic capital markets because we believe that firms should be able to raise capital through these capital markets, and also even the governments should be able to have domestic local currency loans, which can also accelerate the industrialization. Now, there are opportunities that exist in terms of financing, the public-private partnerships, and I think a lot of us are aware of some of the public-private partnerships which involve Chinese companies. We have very many examples of those across the continent. Development finance institutions like the AFDB and the Afrexim Bank are also scaling up on the special economic zones. Diaspora bonds and sovereign wealth funds are being created, and we have also heard from Beatrice, she mentioned about the blended finance models, which are important. But in addition to traditional manufacturing, Africa must embrace the digital economy and emerging industries as agents of industrial transformation. Digital transformation technologies, as we know, they are reshaping the global value chains. They're enabling new business models, and they're also unlocking productivity across sectors. We have heard from the presentation from the Beijing University about AI. We know that from fintech to e-commerce to digital manufacturing and AI, all these are influencing manufacturing sector. So for us as a continent to harness this potential of the digital economy, we need to invest in digital infrastructure, promote digital literacy, and also support tech entrepreneurship. Now, the China-Africa cooperation in the digital economy, we know, is gaining momentum through initiatives such as the Digital Silk Road, where China is supporting Africa's digital transformation by investing in broadband infrastructure, smart cities, and e-government platforms, joint ventures in cloud computing, mobile payments, and digital training are helping African countries to build capacity and also to bridge the digital finance. An example of this is that China financed and built the fiber optic cables across Africa, including the Trans-Saharan fiber optic backbone and national broadband projects in countries like Ethiopia, Cameroon, and Sudan. Let me say that Africa's industrialization is not a dream. It is a necessity, but it is not going to happen by chance. It requires deliberate action, strategic investment, like some of those that I have mentioned, and also bold leadership. So at the Economic Commission for Africa, we support the development of resource-based industrialization to make the most of the immense endowments that Africa is blessed with. And this implies for Africa to move up the ladder in various value chains, such as agriculture, as we heard from Annie, or minerals. So in this vein, allow me to mention the ECA's instrumental role in advancing the battery and electric vehicle initiative in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia, where we are providing advisory services. And this initiative is a cornerstone for Africa's economic diversification and industrial transformation because it leverages on the region's mineral resources to position the continent as a global player in the clean energy transition. To achieve this, we advocate for the use of climate finance instruments, such as debt swaps, to finance value chain development. And in this case, the debt pardon to be negotiated with creditors can finance the battery and electric value chain industrial project, which will probably lead to a first of its kind debt for green industrialization swap. And besides, another financing mechanism consists in establishing a special purpose vehicle where African citizens will invest to finance to ensure domestic financing and ownership. It is worth noting that such cooperation with China is essential, given the latter's importance in different segments of the battery electric value chain, starting from mineral extraction to battery electric vehicle manufacturing. So as I conclude, let us commit to financing Africa's industrial future, not just with capital, but with vision, innovation, and resolve. Let us build industries, both physical and digital, that create jobs, transform economies, and also uplift lives across the continent. The time to act is now, and the future of Africa depends on it. Thank you very much.
I thank the director, Dr. Stephen Karingi, for his statement. Let me now invite Mr. Li Shibao, Chief Representative Office in Ethiopia of the China Africa Development Fund. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency Ambassador Jiang Feng, Your Excellency Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to be here and engage with you in discussing the future-oriented theme of China-Africa Digital Economy Cooperation. On behalf of China-Africa Development Fund, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to the China Mission, to the AU, and the CDRC for the kind invitation and support. I also extend my warmest appreciation to all friends who have long supported the fund's mission. The KID Fund stands as a significant achievement of FOCAC. It was initiated by the Chinese government, managed by the China Development Bank, and put into operation in 2007 with a total capital commitment of $10 billion. Headquartered in Beijing, the fund has established a representative office in South Africa, Ethiopia, Zambia, Ghana, and Kenya, creating a far-reaching network spanning all regions of Africa. As of the third quarter of 2025, the KID Fund has made investment decisions totaling about $8.7 billion across 39 African countries, catalyzing over $32.8 billion in additional investment from China enterprises. This has furnished enduring impetus to the sustainable development of China-Africa cooperation. Focusing on the theme of digital economic cooperation, I would like to share three observations based on the KID Fund's experience and practice. The first point, digital connectivity, a new pillar for the China-Africa community with a shared future. The digital economy has emerged as a key driver of high-quality China-Africa cooperation and an integral component of building a high-standard, sustainable, and people-centered Belt and Road. KID Fund seizes the digitalization, networking, and intelligentization opportunities, promoting both financial investment and knowledge-based cooperation to enhance Africa digital infrastructure and application capabilities. At the infrastructure level, KID Fund has backed the rollout of cloud computing and backbone fiber optic networks by China Telecom and China Mobile across Africa, contributing to projects such as Peace Cable and To Africa Submarine Cable, These efforts have remarkably enhanced data connectivity and paved the way for digital bridge between China and Africa. Regarding the development of cooperation mechanism under the guidance of the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of China, we have strengthened collaboration with think tanks such as the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology, and successfully hosted the China-Africa Digital Capacity Building Cooperation Forum. This initiative is designed to provide targeted support for Chinese enterprise expanding overseas and efficiently address the cooperation needs of our Africa partners. In agriculture, CAD Fund has advanced digital technologies to facilitate Africa's agriculture modernization. For example, at the Wanbao Agriculture Park in Mozambique, drone systems based on the Beidou navigation satellite system are used for seeding, spraying, and surveying. This technology has significantly boosted yields and efficiency, and at the same time created local jobs through skill training. Mozambique's Minister of Agriculture commended the initiative for being a substantial contribution by Chinese digital agriculture to Africa's food security. The second point, technology transformation, shaping a new economic landscape. The world today is experiencing a profound metamorphosis marked by digitalization, greening, and intelligence. According to the United Nations, by the third quarter of 2025, the digital economy has come to account for 26% of global GDP. In Africa, the potential is immense. There are over 680 million internet users, and the internet penetration rate is approaching 48%. By 2030, the continent's digital economy is forecast to surpass $1 trillion. China's 45-year plan clearly advocates for speeding up the construction of digital China and promoting the high-quality development of the digital Silk Road. The upcoming 15th five-year plan puts even more emphasis on intensifying the Digital China Initiative. The FOCAC Beijing Action Plan 2025 to 2027 also designates the digital economy as a priority area. Across Africa, digital transformation is picking up speed. Countries include Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, and Egypt have implemented national digital strategies, not only expanding broadband access, but also deploying 5G networks and promoting artificial intelligence applications to boost the contribution rate of the digital economy to GDP. The third point, progressing together towards Africa's modernization. On June the 11th, President His Excellency Xi Jinping sent a congratulatory message to the ministerial meeting of the coordinator mechanism for implementing the outcomes of FOCAC. He highlighted that China is willing to collaborate with Africa to fully implement the 10 partnership actions by enhancing collaborative efforts in key areas such as green industry, digital economy, science and technology, artificial intelligence, reinforcing cooperation in securities, finance, and legal domains to promote the high-quality development of China-Africa cooperation. Looking ahead, CAD Fund will continue to capitalize on its advantages in both finance and industry and deepen cooperation with Africa partners in the following areas. Firstly, promote green and no-carbon development. To fulfill the outcomes of 2024 FOCAC Beijing Summit, CAD Fund has set up the China-Africa Green Industry Chain Special Fund, committed to projects in sustainable energy, new materials, and new efficiency. We are backing the development of photovoltaic manufacturing and green power grids to spur Africa's energy transition and sustainable growth. Secondly, facilitate digital transformation through a comprehensive approach of investment, lending, and expertise. CAT Fund will concentrate on developing digital infrastructure such as submarine cables, data centers, and cloud laws, and cultivate digital ecosystem in e-commerce, mobile payments, and smart cities, assisting Africa transition from digital access to digital innovation. Thirdly, spur industry agglomeration and integration. CAT Fund will seek cross-regional connectivity and industrial synergies through a comprehensive model of fund plus industrial park plus project, constructing digital industrial clusters to strengthen Africa's regional coordination and industrial linkages, and infusing sustainable momentum into the continent's industrialization and modernization. Ladies and gentlemen, the digital economy is not only a crucial drive force for Africa's modernization, but also an indispensable link, linking the China-Africa community with a shared future. CAT Fund stays dedicated to the principles of in-depth consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. We will persist in deepening cooperation in digital transformation, green development, and nascent industries. Let us join hands to serve the digital wave, co-create a new blueprint for China-Africa prosperity, and share the brilliance of technology progress. I thank you.
I thank Mr. Lee for his presentation. I have the honor now to invite Mr. Liu Yi, Deputy Director of Security Research Institute, China Academy of Information and Communications Technology, who traveled all the way from Beijing to participate in our meeting. You have the floor, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, host, moderator. Your Excellency, Ambassador Jiang Feng, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good day. My name is Liu Yue from China Information and Communications Technology, CAICT, one of the key think tank and industrial platform in China under the MIT. And I would like to thank the organizer of this seminar for their invitation. And this is my second visit to the beautiful city and Addis Ababa this year. Today's seminar and the topic of the China-Africa Digital Economy Cooperation echo well with the seminar on China-Africa Digital and Emerging Industry Cooperation that I attended on September 26. Today, I would like to share some thoughts on strengthening China-Africa digital ecosystem cooperation. First, the rapid development of China's digital technologies and industries provides a systemic support for China to advance China-Africa digital cooperation. From China's development perspective, first, you can see the upgrading and expansion of digital infrastructure is laying a solid foundation for the development of China's digital economy and the advancement of new type industrialization. And China has built the world's largest optical fiber and 5G networks, realizing the gigabit networks in every county, 5G in every township, and broadband in every village. The scale of the intelligent computing power has reached nearly 500 e-floats. Secondly, the acceleration of digital technology innovation and the digital and the green transformation. Large language model technologies represented by DeepSeek and Tongyi Qianwen are facilitating the building of an open resource innovation AI ecosystem. Technologies such as 5G and AI are rapidly penetrating core production process. A complete system has been established for the intelligent connected vehicle (ICV) industry, and also the new energy vehicles, photovoltaic products, and the wind power equipment. Thirdly, both China's software industry and the electrical information manufacturing industry have maintained a growth rate of over 10%. Chinese consumer electronics brands are popular worldwide. Communication equipment supports network coverage in various countries. The Beidou navigation satellite system provides precision service to more than 200 countries and regions, and the server and the data center technologies underpin the vigorous development of the global digital economy. In terms of supporting China-Africa digital cooperation, China's high-quality development will provide a full-cycle experience from the planning and the design to construction and operation, full chain capacities from R&D and the testing to production and maintenance, and the full system support from technology and the product solution to the entire industrial chain. Second, positive result. The positive results have been achieved in practical China-Africa cooperation in the digital field, effectively supported Africa's digital development and the modernization drive. Like what Dr. Stephen Karinji and Mr. Li Shibao mentioned. Infrastructure. Chinese enterprises have participated in the construction of over half of Africa's wireless base stations and high-speed mobile broadband networks, helping Africa enter the 5G era. And they have also undertaken the construction of over 150,000 kilometers of broadband backbone networks in Africa, and conduct cooperation in areas such as submarine cables and satellites, significantly enhancing Africa's connectivity. Technology application. Chinese enterprises have actively provided digital solutions and cloud services for the Africa's agriculture, mining, manufacturing, energy, public service, mobile payment, and other sectors. Open resources AI technology represented by DeepSeek have been implemented in fields such as healthcare and finance in Africa, helping improve the production and the living standards of African people. Investment and capacity building. Chinese enterprises have increased investment in renewable energy in Africa. Software and electronics manufacturing enterprises have deeply integrated into the African market through the localization production and technical training and industrial chain development, enhancing Africa's digitalization level and the capacity for the digital and the green development. Third, expanding China-Africa digital ecosystem cooperation holds a broad prospect and has become an important topic of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, as well as a new highlight and a new space for deepening China-Africa practical cooperation. Last year, President Xi Jinping proposed that we will build the Africa Digital Technology Cooperation Center and the initiative 20 digital demonstration projects so as to embrace together the latest round of technology revolution and industrial transformation, pointing out the way forward for China-Africa digital cooperation and ecosystem development. In recent years, MIT of China has successfully hosted high-level events such as the Forum on China-Africa Digital Capacity Building Cooperation and the Forum on China-Africa Digital Cooperation, forming a multi-level exchange system covering the policy communication, industrial cooperation, and capacity building. MIT has also jointly released the action plan. Recently, Minister Li Lecheng led a delegation to visit Ethiopia. While attending the seminar on China-Africa digital and emerging industrial cooperation, he expresses Chinese willingness to deepen cooperation with the African Union and African countries to support the building digital Africa and smart Africa, and put forward a number of practical recommendations for further promoting high-quality China-Africa digital cooperation, including enhancing digital inclusiveness, supporting the industrial innovation cooperation, and expanding the emerging industrial cooperation. In July 2024, the Action Plan for China-Africa Digital Cooperation and Development was jointly released by MIT and more than 20 African countries, promoting cooperation in 6 areas: digital policies, digital infrastructure, digital transformation, innovation, digital security, and digital capacity buildings. More participants from all parties are welcome to join the action plan to enrich the dimensions of cooperation and share the development opportunities. To pool the wisdom and the strength of all parties in China and Africa and promote the steady and long-term progress of China-Africa digital cooperation in accordance with the principle of the extensive construction, joint contribution, and shared benefits. MIT will establish a partnership committee. This committee intends to invite high-level officials from competent government departments in the digital field of China and African countries, as well as the representative of relevant international organizations, to participate in in-depth discussion on China-Africa digital cooperation and the ecosystem development, deepen consensus, and provide the jointly agreed cooperation recommendations to the China-Africa Digital Technology Cooperation Center. African friends are welcome to join the committee in the future. The African Digital Technology Cooperation Center will be located in a city in China with a well-developed digital industry and a sound digital ecosystem, focusing on implementing the FOCAC action plan and the action plan for the China-Africa digital cooperation and development. It will carry out the following work. First, host high-level exchange events to support the policy communication and experience sharing and mutual learning. Second, build a cooperation and services platform organizing activities such as exhibition, project matchmaking, and roadshow, and promote industrial supply demand matching, and application demonstration progress, industrial finance cooperation. Third, conduct capacity building by organizing sharing sessions, seminars, and training programs, promote joint research, cultivate more digital talents, and provide more development opportunities for the youth and the women. Under the guidance of the Chinese MIT, CST has established the FOCAC implementation platform on information and industrialization, which has fully participated in and supported China-Africa digital cooperation efforts. in recent years, including deep involvement in the design, preparation, and subsequent construction and operation for the China-Africa Digital Technology Cooperation Center. Going forward, CAICT will continue to fulfill its duties well as the implementation in platform, support high-level exchange events, provide support for the to be established partnership committee, deepen and expand cooperative partnership with ATU under AUC and UNDP, UNESCO, UNIDO, UNESA, ITU, and also a number of African think tanks, universities, and industrial organizations. Prove the strengths of the research institutions, financial institutions, users, and the service providers. Promote cooperation in the action plan, and advance the implementation of demonstration projects. We will work with our African friends to jointly build an open, inclusive, mutually beneficial, win-win, healthy, and prosperous China-Africa digital cooperation ecosystem, and add a new momentum to the China-Africa friend. Thank you for your attention. Please feel free to contact me for any ideas and requests. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Liu Yu. Let me now invite Dr. Shi Lincoln, Senior Research Fellow from the International Cooperation Center, National Development and Reform Commission of China. You have the floor.
Hello. Your Excellency, Ambassador Jiang Feng, and distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. So my PowerPoint sharing will be a little bit longer than 10 minutes since I prepared this in Beijing, and it's about 10,000 kilometers away from China. And I think I should complete this story. And anyway, so my sharing today is generally two parts. First is about AI development in China nowadays from my observation. And the other is the prospects on China-Africa AI cooperation. Anyway, I want to start from three cases that are showing AI development in China nowadays. The first one is TikTok. I guess all of you use it, am I right? Yeah, and this TikTok popularity is from 2021. But what you know, the Chinese edition of TikTok is popular before that. We call it Douyin in China. And this TikTok is almost the same with Douyin domestically. So that's a quite special example for Chinese AI companies and AI apps to be popular around the world. And this case shows that we human beings are all the same, either in China or all over the world. And the second case is this DeepSeek. I guess most of you should have ever used it. And this DeepSeek just appears this year, 2025. And it really changed people's idea about AI development in China, either in China and overseas. And we are shocked. It's a game changer. The third case is here. I don't think anyone knows much about this. It is the very first human marathon in Beijing this year in April. And during this robot marathon, there are 20 different robot teams participated in it. And in this marathon, this robot team, they have regulations that they have to be humanoid appearance and with 2 legs on the ground. And the wheel structure is prohibited. And they have to finish this half marathon. It's around 21 kilometers. And you know, among these 20 teams, only 6 of them finish it. But you know, this marathon is kind of so popular inside China. And those teenagers and youths, they are kind of, oh, AI is so cool, and robot is so cool. Yeah. Anyway, so that is 3 cases. So if we want to have a more complete blueprint of how AI development worldwide and especially in China, this is a slide. The upper side is about AI development worldwide. What I can remember, all these key points, I guess I don't really want to explain just one by one, but the most impressive key point for me is the year 2016, when the AlphaGo defeated human Chinese Go champion, because I'm a fan of Chinese Go. So anyway, I'm heartbroken by that time. And anyway, but inside China, AI development is almost developed at the same with worldwide. And it's originally from 1956, from the Dartmouth conference when the AI concept was proposed. And then, as for China, I think there were 2 key years for AI development. The first one is 2000, when China entered WTO in 2001. And after 2000, the rise of internet enterprises in China is kind of emerging so fast, like Alibaba, Baidu, and like Tencent. They all rise from in this period. And the AI technologies developed in the market side. And another important year is 2017 here. And by this year, you know, the Chinese government proposed the very first AI policy. I'll show you later. And that is the AI development policy, just kind of procedures during the past 10 years. It's from 2015, when the Made in China 2025 first introduced the concept of intelligent manufacturing, but that's not special for AI. And then in 2017, the new generation AI development plan was proposed. That's the very first one. And then in the next period, you know, each stage is kind of around 3 years. And during the second stage, I want to sum up as it's a kind of the building of new infrastructure. And we had like the plan of how to build these AI-based new infrastructures. Like during that time, around 2021, Chinese government proposed the project we called the East Data West Calculating, because we have lots of people in the east area of China, but we have lots of more sufficient energies in the west part. So we take advantages of all these areas, and we try to build a more complete new infrastructure. And the third stage is around the regulation and the governance. And the last stage is right now, I would like to describe it as AI plus stage. And during this stage, it's kind of AI plus industries is emerging so fast. And you know, nowadays in China, breakthroughs have already achieved in domestic AI chips and also computing power networks. And you know, in China, we have 3 AI cluster cities. That is Beijing, Shenzhen, and Shanghai. I'll show you another slide. It's here. So you know, in China, these 3 big cities we consider to be the national level AI innovation cluster centers. But each center are different. You know, in Beijing, we have lots of universities and research centers, the most sufficient talents. So it's more featured on a hub for large model innovation. So it's kind of software. And as for Shenzhen, it's kind of the center of manufacturing in China. So it's more hardware. It's considered to be the pioneer in hard technologies and terminal manufacturing. And as for Shanghai, it's another story. It's a combination of both hardware and software. So it's, you know, Hangzhou, this popular digital city, is just beside Shanghai. And they kind of co together. So it becomes a quite comprehensive and complete AI ecosystem. And also nowadays in China, we don't really only have DeepSeek. We have tens of different kinds of large models. These large models have their own advantages, like Doubao, which is based on Douyin and TikToks, and also like Queens, which is quite popular in some other countries. And also we have like the Spark models, which is good in, which is maybe the leading place for language translation. Also, nowadays the AI plus application is so varied, either in manufacturing sectors and agriculture sectors. I show some cases. It's like the Huawei smart factory. We have a lot of smart factory in those coastal areas of China. We have lots of application of agriculture AI. And you can see here that's also a lot of cases. There's a lot of private enterprises nowadays in China. They are kind of offering agricultural AI solutions to different specific problems. And also we have AI that is responsible for smart city. Just like this, the Hangzhou Smart City brand is one of the most successful city brands nowadays in China. Anyway, to sum up, that is my personal sum up anyway. So currently, against AI development in China is kind of three features. First one is we have quite comprehensive policy support system, from the top design to local policies and to those fund support and to private anyway. So everything is kind of, we are coordinating with each other. And the second is we have the choices. I describe it as world-leading technological capacities. Is it a little bit boosty? But anyway, I will still want to describe it as this, because you know, in China, China ranks first globally in the number of AI-related academic publications, like papers and books, and also in patent applications. And we have been ranking #1 for about 10 years. That's kind of accumulation for many, many years. And also nowadays, there is a saying that most 50% of AI talents are originally from China. I guess some of you also heard about it. And the third feature is the diversified industrial ecosystem. You know, nowadays, when we consider in the digital economy development in China, we consider we have lots of advantages. The two of them is we have most sufficient data domestically in China. We also have a rich application, scenarios in the world. And so that is the third feature. And then we go to the second part of my sharing. It's about the cooperation, the prospects of China-Africa cooperation in future. This slide shows nowadays about those initiatives and also what we are doing in governmental level. And in around 2017, President Xi Jinping proposed the Digital Silk Road Initiative. You know, it's already around 8 years ago. And then, you know, the geopolitical situation changes a lot during those past years. So until 2023, President Xi Jinping proposed the Global AI Governance